Hello, you're watching Vnews Bulletin. I'm Bang from another headlines as usual.
Vietnamese leaders welcome Cuban Prime Minister Manuel Cruz. Vietnamese GDP rises by 13.67% in the third quarter. And foreign investment disbursement hits record high.
Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính hosted a welcome ceremony for his Cuban counterpart Manuel Cruz in Hanoi on September 29th. After the welcome, Prime Minister Chính held talks with the Cuban guests.
Prime Minister Chính expressed his delight at the comprehensive developments of the Vietnam-Cuba relationship of the past time, including new cooperation developments in the fields of agriculture, investment, and healthcare. Prime Minister Manuel Cruz, for his part, expressed his admiration for the history and achievements that the Vietnamese people have achieved. He affirmed that Cuba always attaches great importance to and wishes to further deepen the special relationship with Vietnam. The two leaders shared theoretical and practical experiences in the construction of socialism in each country. They also exchanged measures to enhance bilateral cooperation in various fields. They agreed on ways to develop trade and investment relations in the coming time. After the talks, on behalf of the leaders of the party and state of Vietnam, Prime Minister Chính presented the Ho Chi Minh Order to the Cuban government leader. The two prime ministers then witnessed the signing ceremony of cooperation documents between two ministries and branches of the two countries.
Cuban Prime Minister Manuel Cruz is paying official friendship visit to Vietnam at the invitation of Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính. On September 29th, the Cuban guest was warmly welcomed by host leaders.
Welcoming Prime Minister Manuel Cruz and the Cuban government delegation at the party's Central Committee headquarters, General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng stressed that the visit will contribute to deepening the special traditional friendship between Vietnam and Cuba. The party chief stressed Vietnam will always accompany the Cuban party, state and people and try its best to support Cuba within its capacity. Prime Minister Manuel Cruz expressed his thanks to the warm welcome from the Vietnamese leaders and people. He conveyed greetings from Cuban leaders to the Vietnamese party chief. Expressing his admiration for the great achievements Vietnam has gained over the past years, Prime Minister Manuel Cruz emphasized that the achievements and experiences of Vietnam are an important source of encouragement and reference for his country. On this occasion, General Secretary Chiang sent greetings to the leaders of the Cuban party and state, expressing his wish to welcome them again to visit Vietnam again in the time to come. On the same day, President Nguyễn Xuân Phúc received Prime Minister Manuel Cruz and the high-ranking delegation of the Cuban government. Welcoming the guests, President Phúc expressed his sympathy and sadness with Cuba over the recent fuel depot fire that caused great damage to the country. The state leader affirmed that Vietnam will continue to try its best to support Cuba within its capacity. Phúc trusted that the two countries coordinate in implementing dialogue and cooperation mechanisms between the two parties and states, promoting people-to-people exchanges, and that Cuba creates favorable conditions for Vietnamese investors in the country. Prime Minister Manuel Cruz thanked the Vietnamese party and state leaders for the warm and sincere welcome. He also thanked Vietnam for sharing difficulties with Cuba in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. He said there will be some important celebration activities in the coming time, including the 50th anniversary of the historic visit of Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro to Vietnam and the 40th anniversary of the Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation between two countries. At the National Assembly headquarters, National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ warmly welcomed Prime Minister Manuel Mario Cruz and the Cuban delegation who are paying official friendship visit to Vietnam. Chairman Huệ shared with Cuba the losses caused by the explosion of a fuel depot at the Matanzas Industrial Park in early August, and recently the serious damages caused by the storm Ian in the western region of the country. The Vietnamese top legislator affirmed that the National Assembly and people of Vietnam always support the revolutionary cause of the Cuban people and attach great importance to the special cooperative relationship between two countries. Prime Minister Manuel Mario Cruz expressed his thanks to the warmly welcome given to him and the Cuban delegation. The Prime Minister affirmed that Cuba highly appreciates the special traditional friendship between two countries, which was laid by President Ho Chi Minh and President Fidel Castro, and cultivated by generations of leaders and people of the two countries.
Vietnam's gross domestic product GDP grew by 13.67% in the third quarter, according to the General Statistics Office.
The 3 months posted such high growth as the same period last year, which saw the COVID-19 pandemic breaking out strongly and seriously affecting production and business activities. With upbeat signs reported in almost all aspects between January and September, the GDP was estimated to rise 8.83% for the period, the highest 9-month growth recorded in 2011 to 2022. In the context, the General Statistics Office also pointed out that the agro-forestry fishery sector grew by 2.99% in the first 9 months. The industry and construction, meanwhile, increased by 9.44% and service rose by 10.57%. Regarding GDP use, final consumption expenditure climbed 7.26% of the same period last year, accumulated assets rose by 5.59%, exports of goods and services up 8.94%, and imports of goods and services up 4.74%.
The Chinese province of Zhejiang opened its International Trade Exhibition and 10th Export Fair in Hanoi from September 20th to September 30th.
Despite the COVID-19 pandemic's impacts and global geopolitical uncertainties, trade between Vietnam and China last year still grew 25% from 2020 to more than $166 billion. The figure stood at $117.3 billion in the first 8 months of this year, up nearly 10.8% from a year earlier. Zhejiang Export Fair is an important trade promotion activity, helping reinforce economic and trade links between Vietnam and China, including Zhejiang. The expo features 130 booths of over 100 exhibitors, displaying hardware products and machinery, textile, garments and materials, interior and exterior furniture, electronics, and household appliances. It also includes various side events, such as a seminar on e-commerce, a symposium on international trade promotion and Vietnam-China business matching model, and a bicycle test tour.
Disbursement of foreign direct investment in the first 9 months of this year reached $15.4 billion, up 16.2% year-on-year, and marking a record high, a report from the Foreign Investment Department has shown.
The positive figures showed that foreign invested enterprises have been constantly recovering and expanding their production and business activities in Vietnam, FIA said in its report. However, foreign investment inflows into Vietnam saw a yearly decline of 15.3% to over $18.7 billion in the 9-month period. The agency attributed the decline in newly registered capital to difficulties caused by efforts to curb COVID-19 pandemic, which have affected the number of new projects granted license in the first months of 2022. Also, the global market has been facing many fluctuations due to the influence of the geopolitical conflict in Europe, high inflation pressure, and supply chain disruptions. FIA also named a lack of large-scale projects worth over $100 million in the first months of 2022 compared to that of 2021 as one of the major regions.
The Cambodia Cultural Week opened in Ho Chi Minh City on September 20th evening as part of the activities to celebrate the 55th anniversary of the establishment of the bilateral diplomatic ties and Vietnam-Cambodia, Cambodia-Vietnam Friendship Year 2022.
Minister of State at the Cambodian Ministry of Control and Finance, Longpanasiriva, said that this year, Vietnam and Cambodia have resumed face-to-face cultural exchange programs after 2 years they were held in other forms, mainly online. The Vietnam Cultural Week in Cambodia last month and this event are not only to implement the two countries' cultural and finance cooperation plan, but also important activities in celebration of the 15th anniversary of the diplomatic ties. As part of the event, Cambodia's traditional dances are introduced to Vietnamese people. An exhibition featuring the country's culture and finance is being held as well.
The Khmer community in South Chiang Province, along with Khmer people in the southern region, hold traditional Sandon Thăm festival from the 29th of the 8th lunar month to the 1st of the 9th lunar month each year. This is one of the most important religious festivals for Khmer ethnic people.
The Sandon Thăm Festival is an occasion for all members of families to gather to pay tribute to ancestors. Before the festival, Khmer families clean their houses and prepared ingredients for offerings, which are usually traditional cakes and dishes.
The Sandon Thăm Festival expresses the Khmer people's deep gratitude to their ancestors, grandparents, and parents.
After worship ritual at home finishes, a boat made of banana tree carrying a little rice, salt, and money is released into the river or canal near the house. Local people believe that the boat can bring their ancestors and the deceased back to their world. Sandon Thăm Festival is also an occasion for Khmer people to pray for the deceased and seek good luck for the living. During the event, in addition to gathering to pay homage to their ancestors, Khmer also enjoy traditional singing and dancing after a year of hard work.
Many think that only Hoi An ancient town in the central province of Quang Nam has old yellow houses with mossy walls, but there is a similar old village in the heart of Hanoi.
The more than 400-year-old Dong Ngak village in Bắc Tu Liêm district is one of the oldest in the capital city of Hanoi and was famous as an intellectual space. The village still has some 100 old houses of different ages, including some built in 1605. Their architecture remains untouched.
My parents-in-law want to repair this house, but also keeps its original architecture. However, they can't afford to do it.
Built over 400 years ago, the Ve communal house bears the typical ancient architecture of Dong Ngak village. The buildings hold unique historical and cultural values from Vietnam's northern region.
Despite the consequences of war, some old ancestral houses remain intact.
Today, the houses in Dong Ngak village have been preserved by local residents to bring a wonderful experience to visitors to the capital city.